Welcome, family. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to Authentically Being Ava. I'm Ava. So, family, I wanted to talk to you guys today about the real reason why people don't like authentic people. It's not what you think. I named this channel Authentically Being Ava because I wanted to discuss some of the things that I have seen. So have you ever noticed that the more you try to be yourself and who you are, the more people seem to have issues with you? There's a reason for that. And in my opinion, I think a lot of people misunderstand what being authentic really is. It doesn't mean being rude. I've been around quite a few people who, I guess they're in that, keeping it real phase or mode. I think sometimes people get that confused with being authentic and real and genuine. Keeping it real is a little bit different. And I personally don't really gel well with those types of personalities and those types of people, because they can be rude and obnoxious and downright mean a lot of times. I just personally don't think it's your place to try to tell somebody about themselves or who they are and want to hide behind keeping it real, or I'm just telling you like I see it. Like, everybody doesn't want to hear all of that. I mean, unless they're asking you to give them that information, people don't really want to hear that. And again, that's just, disguised under being a mean person. Being authentic doesn't mean being rude. It doesn't mean walking around pointing out other people's flaws. So to me, being authentic is just expressing myself, the things that I truly feel about whatever it is. Being genuine and authentic, not necessarily tearing somebody else down or talking about somebody and what they need to change about who they are. That's absolutely not what being genuine and authentic is. I've actually been to therapy and talked to therapists and discussed a lot of the things and tried to work through things that I didn't understand, that didn't make sense, and healed them. So at this point, this is where I am, being the most genuine and authentic person that I am. Not afraid to apologize or just trying to get the total understanding about life through my lens. I'm not pretending or performing. I'm just being genuine and being real. And when you are a genuine and authentic person and you express things the way you see them, not angry, you're not lashing out at anybody, you're just expressing yourself as genuinely as possible. But for some reason, some people do get triggered by you being this way. I don't mean triggered by, oh, you said something about me that I don't like. The things that are being expressed have nothing to do with any other individuals. Unfortunately, for some people who have not done work on themselves in these different areas, they can get triggered by hearing somebody who's genuine and authentic. But then here you come, having worked on yourself in those particular areas, and that's when it becomes a problem. You're expressing yourself in a way that they can't. And it's not that they actually can't, it's that they don't want to do the work for whatever reason. So then now they want to make you out to be this bad person, this hated person. They're jealous and envious and all these other things because of things that they have not done to work on themselves. And that's really what it is when people get triggered. It's almost like you're being a mirror right in front of them. You basically are showing them and they're not ready to see that. So, family, I've actually experienced this firsthand. I had a friend back in the day that I really thought was a friend, and I came to realize that I misjudged her. And through this one experience I'm about to tell you about, I realized that she wasn't who I thought she was. So I realized that there was a little bit of jealousy going on, when I let her know that I was getting married. And out of nowhere, she wants to let me know she congratulated me and everything. And she said she was happy for me and all that stuff. But all of a sudden, then here comes this conversation where now she wants to talk about her relationship and how it's now time for her to get married. And I was just like, I've never actually heard her even speak about getting married. She'd been in a long-term relationship with her boyfriend, but she never really talked about marriage until I mentioned it. My relationship came kind of suddenly and out of the blue, and within a couple of years of meeting my husband, we decided to get married, and somehow this triggered something in her that had nothing to do with me. That was all her. So we continued the conversation on, and she asked me about my hair. So at that point, I had just begun my lock journey with my hair, and so my locks were kind of short at the time. So she was, asking me what I was going to do with it, and I said, yeah, I'm going to wear a wig. So I just decided, because I was going to wear this glamorous dress, he was wearing a tux and all this stuff, I wanted some glamorous hair. So I just decided to get a wig, or wear a wig. So when I told her this, she just blew up and was angry, and I just was like, I'm not understanding. But this wasn't unusual behavior with her, because she blew up a lot. She actually honestly was, that mean girl. She was one of those people who liked to keep it real. She was one of those people who you may confuse with being authentic and genuine with being a mean girl. She continued to kind of roast me after I told her what I had decided to do with my hair for my wedding. And I just looked at her like, you are out of bounds, okay? But yeah, she got really angry. She was like, why aren't you wearing your locks? I mean, that's, why would you do that? That's crazy. That's stupid. You're so weird. I'm just like, yeah, this conversation is over, because I'm like, at this point, we're both adults. We're grown. I'm grown. Forget her. This is my decision, and this is what I want to do, or was choosing to do. So what is the problem with you? And I really didn't understand. But like I said, in hindsight, looking back, I think that she was having some issues with herself and, with her relationship with me. And again, that's not my problem. That's on her. But yeah, I realized after that conversation, I was done with sharing any more of my personal business aspirations or whatever with her. She needed to work on some things, obviously, within herself. It wasn't necessarily about me. And I just, told her, well, when you do decide to get married, you can do whatever it is that you want to do with your hair. Okay? I let that be clear. But yeah, I just couldn't understand that. Why was she getting that angry about what I'm doing with my hair from my wedding? It was just really weird. So you see, being authentic and being who you are sometimes can trigger other people into reacting in ways that are just baffling. And, I just had to understand and realize that maybe this was, something that she needed to, work out within herself with whatever's going on with her. She needs to do some inner work on herself to heal whatever's going on with her. I personally think that she was one of those people who wanted to see things how she wanted to see them, which doesn't make sense. There were some other situations in our relationship where she just kind of was real pushy. Like, she wanted you to do things that she wanted you to do because she thought that was best. I was just like, look, I don't know what's going on with you personally, but you have a life just like we all do, and we all get to decide what we want to do for ourselves. So do you, and make it great, but allow me to do things for myself. It's pretty much the end of our friendship, because it was something that she just really wasn't willing to back down on. She had her opinions on it, and that was where she was with it is what it is. I would never shrink down to be bullied or whatever else by anyone to do something just because they wanted me to do it. You know, that is insane to me. It is insane. And I just wanted to share that, family. You know, being authentic and being who you are is everything. And, you know, people having issues with why you're like you are, you know, and how you choose to present yourself into the world, it has nothing to do with you, with whatever's going on with them. Sometimes people need to look within, and they need to sit themselves down and figure out what's going on with them, whether they do it alone, journal, go see a therapist. That's on them. But me being who I am, being the genuine and authentic person that I am, sharing who I am to the world, sometimes it can be triggering for other people. And it's only highlighting things within themselves that they need to look at. And that's genuinely what this is and what's going on with that. So family, if this resonated with you, go ahead and hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next video, family. Take care.